Well, good morning to my friend Richard Kelly across the pond, and good afternoon, I should say, Europe time. Good morning to us in the United States time. And what a pleasure. I get to come back again. What is this, episode number 5?
Have you not given up on yourself yet?
No, no, I've up leveled it. Look at this. Hide and seek shirt. I even came dressed with one of my
Oh,
favorites for today's
beautiful.
topic. As you seen a picture of my son earlier today, and I said, this is, as we're going to talk about the unplugging with Lasso. For those that are familiar with the Ted Lasso show on Apple Plus, if you haven't, drop everything you're doing and watch it. Well, you don't have to, but we're gonna after our talk today, so many of you that haven't seen it are probably gonna want to, and those that have seen it are just gonna, I think, just relish in some of the great things that you were probably thinking from the show that we're gonna pull from today. But it's about life. Life is about having fun and making it fun, isn't it, Richard? As
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
talking just before this show, and we're gonna have fun today, and we're hoping that we're gonna, leave you with something that is, well, we know it's valuable to us, and that hopefully is also a value to you as well. So welcome, Richard, on back again with me.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thanks for that, Steve. It's always good fun to have the time with you. I know we're always coordinating, creating stuff together, and even these little shows that we're offering here to people, the ideas that come off us from just talking to each other and spinning these ideas around and saying how can we look, and the fact of Ted Lasso and the writing that was behind it and the understanding what they were trying to bring out of the series was really impressive. And I know a lot of people are talking across the pond about this, about what it's really meaning for them. And I think we're going to touch a little bit of the surface here, Steve, today, and we may do some other shows on it later on. But I think it just kind of fitted in nicely from what we've been talking about before to kind of see the unplugging with Ted Lasso, what it really means, and what is this all about having humor and fun in our lives?
That's it, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And so for those of you that are visual, here's your visual. I might try not to block it in the video, but that's just to keep us on track and gives you something to look at. So when you think about, for those that are familiar with Ted Lasso, right, he's this coach that comes across. I don't want to give away the show for those that haven't, but at least the context of it is he coaches American football and he gets hired by European football or soccer, we call it in the United States. Football, as you call it correctly, in Europe, right? And he gets hired to coach European football, and he's never done that before. Never done it, no experience whatsoever when it comes to the sport. But yet, as you find out in the show, we'll cover some of this today, is he doesn't have to, right? He already brings in something different into the culture. We talked a lot about culture and engagement, right, in our first 2 episodes. So if you haven't caught those two, go back and listen to episode 1 and 2, because this plays directly from that in a context of watching how Ted uses this in his interaction with the football team there, right? So when you think about humor, and you'll see humor here is a big deal. I was thinking about this, Richard, as me and you were connecting on this idea behind these 5, we call it 5 principles or attributes or qualities of who Ted Lasso is being when he shows
Hmm.
up, right? Whether it's with the football team, whether it's with the people in his life, whether he's in the community, you'll see this come out. And this underlining pillar of humor. It's almost everything's built off of humor. And you think of humor as, before we jump into the 5 principles, Richard, what's your thoughts on humor and this idea of when we come from a humorous state, that we're coming from this higher level of consciousness, this higher level of thinking? If I come about things from a humorous, fun, jovial way, what's that setting us up for?
I think that's setting us up for many possibilities, because I think when you don't have that humor, what is happening is your body's reacting to it. So your body is reacting to the feelings and the thoughts that you've created. And if you're not in humor, you're not having fun. You're not actually enjoying the moment. You're possibly actually thinking more about the past or more about what you're going to create in the future, but you're not actually focusing what's happening right now. And even now, with us having this conversation, we've got an overview. We don't have what we're going to really say until we actually ping pong each other with questions and points of ideas and views about what it all means. So, that is the part of having fun. And everyone will have a different understanding of what humor is and what fun is and what is being okay and what is feeling down. It all comes from within inside us. It's all made up in here. Yet you've got to understand that Ted has given some of these 5 values, 5 principles that you shared into the series to show to people, you can have humor, even though everything could be falling apart, or even if your owner wants you to fail, part of the storyline, in not succeeding at the club. Yet he turns it around and creates this humor about his players, his boss, his journalists, his family, his friends, etc., in all different angles. And that's, humor's it's literally saying, hey, I'm okay. It's great. Let's have this fun now, creating this possibility. Because I don't know what's going to be around the corner. We don't know who's going to be listening to this. It could be a leader, it could be a coach, whoever. But someone will get something from it that would say, hey, thanks, guys, for sharing this, because that really just opened up some ideas for me.
I love that too. As I heard you speak about humor, one, we're showing up from a higher level of thinking. Two is we're present in the moment. We're not in our past. We're not in our future. We're actually in the present moment. It's kind of a mindfulness or meditative activity, right? And we're also, the big part I heard you speak in there too is, doesn't matter where you place Ted Lasso, he's going to be himself in any environment, wherever you put him. And we're going to uncover some of that idea of, doesn't matter what the external circumstances hold, he creates within who he is already. And because the first principle, right, being positive, because you hear positivity. Martin Seligman's done a lot of work on positive and optimism and all these ideas and positive psychology. John Gordon's done a podcast called Positive University. So you see a lot of this going around in the research, or just in some of these high profile people that put a lot of information on there. But for the sake of Ted Lasso living it and being it, when you think about happiness, so I have little stickies to remind me to ask Richard, be like, when you think about happiness is a choice, right? So he's positive. He's bringing that into an environment, whether the club is successful or failing, he's bringing a level of happiness as a choice of being that.
And that word of choice is very, very much prominent. It's such an important way of understanding, folks, that you have a choice. When you wake up in the morning, you can either say, hey, it's going to be a great day, I'm going to have some fun, or it's going to be a bad day and I'm going to have problems, etc., and this is what's going to happen. That choice is the difference. You choose. You have that choice. You have that free will to show up in the morning, even if you think everything is a mess, even if you think the jam, or you've had the hurricane and stuff. Yeah, it is a sad thing if it's people's houses or homes are being destroyed. Totally agree with that. And I can understand the hardship that they must go through. And yet at the same time, it's just for us to say, okay, it may take some time now, but I know I can rebuild the house in a better way next time. Or I can, maybe look for somewhere where I can have a bit of a stronger foundation. Or maybe it's time for us to move away, Depends. It depends on the person and the situation. You yourself, Steve, have moved from California all the way over to Florida because you said of the experience you had over there, and then you've come over here and you've got these experiences, but it's not wanting you to move again.
And you think about it, it was the choice in the matter of moving here.
Yeah.
I can make a new choice.
Yeah.
If we move here and go, oh, we don't want to live in this beautiful home, let's find a new home, or let's move to a new state, or let's take on new work as an entrepreneur. Of course, every day I wake up as a new a new choice, just like you, Richard. It's like, who am I serving today, right? And I love what you say there. There's options. When we know we have choice, there's freedom, isn't there? There's a freedom in the choice to say, I can choose my attitude, I can choose my behavior, my action, I have choice of thoughts of how I think about situations. So Ted Lasso goes in with this positive mindset, irregardless for the circumstances around him. I know a lot of the work that you and I do works with leaders that maybe lose hope, lose faith, lose belief, lose trust, lose their vision, lose their way when they feel like choice is removed, or they right. And then you start to see the energy start to decline. You start to see positivity dip. We see this in a lot of the leaders that you and I serve. Yeah.
It's people say, yeah, you can't be positive all the time. Yeah, that's possibly true. But that's where the difference is. Because, you know, that understanding, your body will tell you when you're off-centered and you're not feeling right and you're not having fun. It'll tell you. It'll give you that aches and pains to say, hey, you're kind of off balance here. What's going on? You're not in the center. You're not having fun again. Or you're not really focusing in the moment and clearly knowing what you want.
Yeah.
Now, being positive could also be meaning knowing what you want and being focused. Again, it's the interpretation of what you think as being positive.
Yeah.
Ted was showing in the series how focused he was. He was wanting to get the best out of every angel person that he was with. He was serving them in a way that was making them become powerful themselves. It was making them become positive themselves.
There you go. Because that's going into the second one, caring for others.
This is not scripted out, folks.
No, so I'm showing up positively in myself.
Yeah.
And then now I'm sharing that with others, which we call caring. Think about this. He sees the good in others, which we're just starting to go into. When I see the good in others, it makes me think of a great quote by Benjamin Franklin that I think of often as like one of my, as this Ted Lasso way. It's been, Benjamin Franklin had this quote, and he had to work through this. He calls the 13 virtues. So those that want to look up his people used to walk on the opposite side of the road to avoid him. Can you imagine? And he was this diplomat. People loved him all over the place. Not when he was younger, not in his early 20s or 30s. People couldn't stand him because he was rude. He was mean. He was not positive. He had to learn this, called the 13 virtues. And one of them was, I will speak ill of no person and only all the good I know of everyone. Ill of no person, right? We have this thought of no one's worthy of my judgment. We've talked about this before, right, in our mastermind group. And you think about Ted Lasso sees the good in others despite their pain in the neck, despite there is something that is bothering me in them, despite all that stuff. He shows up and he chooses to see, another choice word, chooses to see the good in others and care for others despite maybe their intentions towards him. What's your thoughts on that part of this Lasso principle on caring from that standpoint?
Well, it kind of stems from him himself. He does care for himself. And at the same time, when you watch the series about his anxiety attacks and stuff like that, he knows he has to care for himself because that's coming up and telling him something about him. Yet he still wants to care for others. So what you do to yourself, you're going to do to others. So if you're going to be nasty to yourself, you're going to be nasty to others. You're going to be kind to other people. You will be kind to other people. You be kind to yourself. It's being your word. And he's trying to be the word of being caring for others. And yet you see throughout the part of the series, you'll see he doesn't really start to care for himself and he starts to wander off on what's going on. And that's when he starts to see he has these anxiety attacks, which I think is a great also way of showing mental issues, if we wish to
Mhm.
call it that way, or the well-being part of ourselves. I mean, there's so many words we could pick on, but
Mhm.
that area of touching about well-being, it's
Yeah,
important. When we see clients, it's not about just helping them to be focused, but it's also about their well-being.
that's it. Like you said, one, we see the realities of his life, his vulnerability, is being willing to be true and transparent. And sometimes self-help, self-care gets a bad rap out there. And I go, is there a better alternative? Self-judgment, self-criticism. I love this idea that you just said is I can't serve people if I'm not serving myself. I cannot give care. And this is big in the healthcare world that I work in. And you do, I know you have a big role in healthcare, and the healthcare givers really struggle at this. A lot
Yeah.
that'll be listening to this podcast episode struggle in this area
Yeah.
of thinking they're caring for others, but really when they stop caring for themselves, they're pouring from an empty tank, an empty vessel.
Yeah. Yeah. And everything is affected by it.
Mm,
Everything, their environment is affected by it
yeah.
in every aspect of their lives. And then they start to create that reality that this is just what it is. But it's not the case.
Mm-mm. Yeah. And you think about that too. It goes right into the next one where there's got to be something greater than maybe the moment, greater than the circumstances, greater than what I might see happening in front of me. Possibility, the belief. You see the big sign he has right called believe. Believe. I have it above my desk actually too. It says believe, right? When you think about believe, this, and it's like this idea where these, it's like an optimist way of looking at possibility. It goes back in that word you mentioned earlier, possibility. And you think about this idea of belief. It reminds me of the difference between optimist and pessimist. I heard recently where it's, what's the difference between an optimist and a pessimist? Is an optimist chooses not to quit or give up. Oh, pessimist loses focus. They stop believing, right? So when you see believe, no matter what's going on in the club, in season, out of season, he has that sign that is this compass, this North Star that he comes back to. And what's your thoughts on the power of belief? Why is belief there? Why does it matter for us as leaders? Why does it matter for those of us running a company uh, that people believe in our mission statement and our values, our vision? Why does any of that beautiful things on our website? Why does any of that matter?
Does it really matter? Because it's words for people, and if they don't believe in it, if they don't have that desire, that purpose for themselves, that clear understanding, the question is, what is it that I truly want today?
So,
And you know, he with Ted Lasso, what he was doing, it was for the individuals as well as the team.
hmm,
He was making every individual believe in themselves because they had their own stories that they had created, that they were saying one thing, another was saying this, and one was a bit boisterous, one was a bit of a. It all started to show up that at the end of the day, it's what you believe in.
hmm,
It'll get you there. No matter if you're gay, you're straight, whatever it is, in that story, it was showing how humans are. And that belief is such a big, important thing. The belief of, we can get out of this hurricane and that we can move forward and we can create better things for our communities and stuff. That's trying to say we believe in ourselves, we can do something. As an
yeah,
example, within a
that's it.
company, we can believe, we're all resilient.
Yeah.
And it's just stopping, slowing down, recognizing, observing what's going on, and believing in ourselves again. Yeah, that's what
You
we can
just,
create this time.
you said the magic word there is believing in something more, believing in a purpose, believing in, you think about, right, probably the two greatest days in our life is one, I know why I'm born, right? This is my values, my gift sets, my things I offer to the world. And two, what I what I do with those gifts, how I offer it, how I contribute. Is there a purpose? What are we driving towards? This idea of belief. I believe in what, right? And he even said, I don't care if we win or lose. There's always a win inside. if I'm believing and pursuing and getting better and chipping away at growth, right? There's this idea of growth mindset, right? Like Carol Dweck talks about at Stanford, and growth mindset. Nothing great's happened outside of belief, has it? If you think of all human history, has anything ever come outside of belief where I just show up and go, well, I hope this lands okay, but I don't really believe we'll get there? What's all the championship teams in any sport, Olympians, business owners, CEOs of companies, belief is in the middle, isn't it? Yeah. It's a big part of it. And going straight from that to leading with courage, we see Ted Lasso leading with courage. And there's a saying in the movie, right? Or in the show, in the series, he goes, doing the right thing is never the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Doing the right thing makes me think of the word integrity, makes me think of the word character, courage. What's some of your thoughts on that? When maybe everyone's thinking or acting or doing something different, you as a leader or as a human being know that I need to stay true to what I believe, what I know is right, what I know is a foundational principle, perhaps.
It is. And at the same time, also taking in other opinions or other ideas, because you're wanting to lead and you're leading in that moment. If you're leading from the past or you're leading from the future, you're not really benefiting of where you are right now. So leading from right now, taking in that information and playing with it and processing it and asking questions, that's part of the process. That's part of leadership. It's about asking the question. Unplugging with Ted Lasso. What questions could we raise from unplugging with Lasso? What does that mean? What you guys trying to say? We're trying to get you to understand stuff, and you can raise many questions. That's part of a leadership. Leaders is not just saying, okay, great, thanks, and I'll take your thing. No, okay, what made you think in that way? What was coming up for you? Why were you thinking this way? The whys, the whats, the whens.
Yeah.
Because that is then showing that you are a leader. And it leads into the series with Ted Lasso. He was asking many different types of questions to his guys, to the players, to the management, to the journalists. I think there was one saying, okay, give me a question and I'll give you a funny answer.
Yeah.
Right
So
at the beginning.
So there's a sense of willingness to look as a fool, willingness to not be liked, willingness to kind of show all your cards, willingness to be vulnerable. If I'm courageous, I'm stepping into something. It almost gives people permission to be themselves.
The perfect example there, Steve, I think if we let people know about when he does the dart competition, where he's having to throw against the ex-owner's partner at the darts in the pub. And he says, if you'd have got curious, you would have been asking me quite a few questions. Yeah. How does this guy know how to play darts? Well, he's been playing since he's been 9.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Like what you said there is missing in so often a lot of leaders that you and I coach. That's one of the number one things we see is a lack of curiosity of asking questions to their peers, to their directs, to their staff. We don't do enough of that, do we?
No,
asking questions, because the answer is right there often, isn't it? Right in front of us when all we need to do is ask it.
Because we're always in the knowing mode. We're always knowing what is right. Do we?
Yeah.
Really? Half the time? Do we know? Do we know as people who work with other people? Do we really know the answer? It's them who knows the answer
there you go.
to their question.
There you go.
We have to get curious. We have to get curious as leaders in a certain way to say, what's going on here? Why are you saying this statement? What does it mean to you? And asking and getting curious with different questions kind of makes them figure out, oh, okay, now I understand why you're asking that question. Yeah, because you were thinking in that, and I'm thinking out here.
That's it. And notice as you're saying that, he was brand new to this whole layout, new country team. He doesn't even know the rules to the sport. He doesn't know anything. It's like he's dropped out of airplane, literally.
Yeah.
And this works anywhere you go. if I'm starting with, if I have a humor as my pillar, my foundation, right? If I'm positive, I care for others, if I believe in possibility, if I lead with courage. And then lastly, this part is a major big part in the show too, is he talks about the goldfish memory, right? He goes, who knows if this is true or not, but in the show, in a sense, it's the idea that goldfish have a 10-second memory, right? He's working with one of his players that is beating up on himself. He's creating a story of why he's not performing as well, or he's starting to use language that is talking from a place of maybe he's not good enough personality, or maybe, right? He came from all the way from this other country to play with this great club, and he's underperforming, or is he? So with the goldfish metaphor, talking about this 10-second memory, right, Richard? What's your thoughts on that when you saw the 10-second memory in the world that you and I live in, making this in a place where we work with our clients? What often do people carry with them that Ted's talking about there that holds them back from really experiencing abundance, joy, peace, grace? What's he really uncovering when he's talking about the goldfish?
It's their beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
What is holding them back?
Yeah.
What is from the past keeps coming back that they've not kind of experienced or taken forward and learned from it or observed about it. It's about, yeah, you kind of because I've got the notes here that I shared with you about the festering on your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's that going to do? Worrying about what the mistakes you've done.
That's it.
What are they going to bring back to you? You've already got that feeling of it and that understanding of it. So every time you're going to make that mistake, it's going to make you more worried and more confused and more upset. And the goldfish is about, yeah, just move on with it. Allow it to live in to live in the present.
Yeah. Because
Because if you don't,
who does this better than anybody that you and I know? I showed you a picture of him just before this, right? A
yeah,
toddler.
yeah,
Kids, my 5-year-old, sometimes my 9-year-old, though she's starting to let things sink into the memory bank a little longer. But the goldfish is like a child.
yeah,
It's like our children. Something happens, right? Something rocks the system, whether they acted out or there was something going on where they misbehaved, or an event happened. Do they carry that event with them for the rest of the day or the week or the month? It's like it's gone in 5 minutes usually, right? It's
yeah,
amnesia. It's like, oh, I moved right past it. And that's like, if you think about that idea where it's if I can move past or look past something, I get back into curiosity, I get back into caring, and I stay positive, I get back into belief, I get back into having courage when I don't carry the baggage with me that us as adults, because a lot of times we go, wait till you're an adult. You ever say that to our kids? Wait until you're adult, you have responsibilities. Then you'll see this, you're not gonna be smiling as much now, then will you? Right? It's like now me and you look at it and we go, that sounds horrible. That's just an
yeah,
idea planted that life can't be abundantly wonderful. And that goldfish idea where it's the past is done. The past, there's a great coach, he's now passed on, named Trevor Moawad, and he wrote a good book called It Takes What It Takes. And he works with like high level athletes and executives, and he calls it neutral thinking. His dad was big on positive psychology, Bob Moawad, kind of in that era where you saw like these great these when motivational was motivational talkers were first new, like Tony Robbins was young, and he had all these different
mm-hmm.
gurus out there. But I love that idea. Neutral thinking is what he's trying to do, is that goldfish memory of somebody might have just thrown like maybe struck out in baseball, or threw a pick as a quarterback, and then NFL or in soccer, they missed the goal and they went over the top
Mm-hmm.
and they missed the game, right? And they lost because of that. And his idea of neutral thinking,
Mm-hmm.
of instead of carrying the weight of that, right? The weight of the play or whatever incident just happened, being able to say, how does that actually serve me to stay there thinking about and dwelling on it on the next play, on the next move, on the next game? And I often think about this idea of this neutral mindset, this as he talks about the goldfish memory, where it's like, yeah, the play happened or the event happened. Think about in our lives. Yet, if I carry it with me, does that really serve me to carry like ball and chain with me everywhere I go? Or is it better to have that goldfish idea where it's like, that was then, this is now, right? And I think most of us struggle with this as adults. I know I do.
Hey, hands up straight away. I do.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is, it can be a heavy burden, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It can be
Yeah.
like you carrying a big sack full of rocks on your back,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel tense, you feel anxiety, you feel worried, you feel upset, you get angry. Why? Because you're carrying something. You're carrying
Mm.
something that you just don't want to let go of.
Yeah.
And the goldfish principle is,
Mm.
okay, yeah, it was there for the moment. Does it really serve you now to worry
Yeah.
about it? No. But if you do, you're going to create more experiences of it, and you're going to get more and more heavy loads on your back. You're going to get more tense. You're going to get more anxiety. You're going to get
Mm-hmm.
worried. And then there's a spin-off, and it carries on and on. You're going, well, how can I get out of it? What have I done? Why can't I be like this?
Mm.
What's going on with me?
Yeah.
Why am I like this? And then you're blaming, then you're saying, well, it's the external, it's this and that. And why have I got about, yeah, I must have problems with my knees, or I've got gout, or whatever. But if you can understand that you've created it by
Mm.
you wanting it to manifest in that way, you wanting to continue with the story of it.
Mm-hmm.
That story of my team colleagues are not working for me, they should be like, we don't know what's going on with your team colleagues
Yeah.
10 minutes ago. They may have had a bad day. They may have come off the phone with something that they've come in because of something. And okay,
That's it. That's it.
that's okay. It's just what it is.
I love that Let It Go, right? It's a good song from Frozen the movie. Let it go, let it go. For those that know I'm talking about you, right? I used to watch that and I go, man, it's Disney show. Some of these are, they're right on us. I need to sing this. I need that reminder for myself. I was like, heck with my kids, scoot over, right? Let me sing with you. Because you're right, let it go. And that's an aspect that he carries, as we start to circle it back to who he's being, is he's impacting the culture. Whether somebody wanted them to lose, whether somebody didn't like him, whether none of that even mattered, because he elevated everyone and everything around him by who he was being, right?
Yeah.
Showing up with possibility he was positive, he had choice, right? He was caring for others, he was caring for himself too, and he was vulnerable and open. He believed in possibility so much, so he slapped it on the door before they went out to play. What in that belief, and what do we want, right? What do we want from this idea of courage and asking questions, people, sitting with people, being with people in their stuff, and having the courage to say the hard stuff. And then the goldfish memory of being able to let things go, being able to move beyond the past and create in the current, and keep the curiosity, as you saw, so alive, when it's really written, and it's wrapped around that idea of the humor. Because he could do that, he's present, right? He's coming from a place of internal joy, happiness. This came from the inside, right? Inside work. And he chose to create that. No matter what was given to him, he played with it and he used it to the fullest without judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts on the Lasso way, the way that he showed up, the way that we can show up in our family and our businesses with others, by how he modeled so well with that, what's really possible for us?
Yeah, the possibility is, folks, we actually are resilient human beings. We actually bounce back. I know people don't like that word, or they don't associate with it. But if you think about it, as you've said, Steve, your son, 5 years old, he's just bouncing back every time. It's like a Duracell battery, it just never stops running. But it's that willingness, that belief that, he's learning something. I'm learning something from my dad, I'm learning something from my mom, my sister, I'm learning about life, my friends. Hey, it's great. Let's have fun. Let's get up again and let's make a sandwich out of whatever, or make a juice out of this. And hey, it's their creativity, and unfortunately we kill it later
Yeah.
on in life.
Hmm.
Society kills it, our education kills it, our industry kills it, you name it. We all kind of, and then you wonder why people are the way they are, and upset and confused and frustrated and angry, and not able to be focusing and not wanting. Yeah, it's just putting you back on your flow of your river again, on your boat, just letting you understand how you can steer it differently this time than where you did it from the last time. Noticing where it's come from, noticing what your body's telling you. Ted was saying he had that anxiety. He had things that he was holding on to, and he was creating the anxiety for him. He had to go back home. That was the end of the story. He wanted to go back home because that's where he wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where he wanted to be. He wanted to be the better father for his son because
Yeah.
he realized that he wasn't being the father for his son at the beginning. And then as the story goes through, you can see,
Yeah.
he was a better father. He wanted to be that father who did activities with his son and not missed out on the times with his son. And yet we all get caught up in it. We
Yeah.
all get caught up with it. We're trying to generate things, create things, be busy, meetings and calls and stuff. But when your son or your daughter wants to say, can I have 10, 15 minutes with your time? It means something to them. Same with your colleague. Can I have 5, 10 minutes to have a conversation? Then maybe that they're wanting to finish. Maybe they want to leave. They've had enough, or that there's something else going on that they want to share because they know that they've got the confidence with you to listen to them
That's it. I think,
and to be there for them because they believe in someone who's
yeah,
there for them.
I think right there too, as you said, is almost another added part to being present is slowing down to allow presence to exist, right? As you're speaking that, it's a real intentional way that it shows up, a real intentional way that we can show up to where life is busier than ever. Technology, we drive faster cars, we get instant access, we have microwaves, and everything that you see from the Lasso Way is slowing all that down to a conversation, to
Hmm.
listening, to being curious, to being actually wanting to learn about somebody else's world. And I think that's a great, you said that with our children, with our colleagues, with our staff. If we're really having struggle with somebody next to us, when's the last time we had a good conversation, went and had coffee or tea? I don't know what they have in the in Brussels. You would know better than I would. Maybe it's tea, as he calls it, dirt water. I actually like tea. I just had a little bit, just before I got on this call, and spending time with someone today. If there's nothing else that you get from unplugging with Lasso, but that what Richard just shared is key. I'm gonna go do that with my daughter today, our 9-year-old. I need to, right? I need to spend time with her and really just relish who she is and who she's becoming and who she's, her what she's excited about and what she's frustrated with. I'm going to use this lasso way with her and hopefully today's talk with conversations across the pond, something in there connected with you. Doesn't have to be all five at once, right? But hopefully one of the principles really stood out to you that you want to lean into today, right? And of course, as before, me and Richard would love to, be able to help support you in that. If there's anything
Yeah,
that you can do, of course, I'll have our contact information in the show notes. But the biggest part is just taking small steps towards that. You never see Ted
exactly.
Lasso in a rush. You never see him upset with win or losing. There is no such thing. It's made up game, right? And relationships matter the most, right? We talked about relationships last time. And
Yeah.
you notice we're building a kind of our theme is relationships, because all of life is about our relationships. And Ted Lasso gave us a great examples of that. Any last closing thoughts or words from my friend Richard here?
No, I just got goose pimples when you were talking about the relationships and how, our relationship, how it's grown, etc.
Yeah.
And as you said, everything is about a relationship with yourself as well, because
Mm-hmm.
and that relationship with that colleague or that person or that child or your whoever it is, spending that time. We can all hide behind, the good old mobile,
Mm-hmm.
the good old messages, the good old email system. Now we call it old email system. But actually, the just getting on a phone, having a conversation, listening to the voice, listening to what they're saying is more powerful than just reading the text, because they're coming out with their energy, their feelings, and you coming reading that text message with your feelings and your understanding. But when you actually sit down with someone, and this is what you and I do before we create these shows, we're talking, we actually speak to each other. We don't send messages. We actually get on the phone, we talk to each other. And so that we can spin them ideas off and get an understanding, a feeling of what's going on for each other. And that's how you create that relationship with people. It's that confidence, the trust, the love, the appreciation, all these words, the acknowledgement, they all come about because you're creating something with that other human being. Don't forget that other person in the office, that other person on the training field, the other person across from you in a counter, they're a human being.
Mm-hmm.
They're in their world, creating their reality. So,
Yeah.
create that time just to smile, appreciate them, thank them,
Yeah.
makes a big difference. And that's what
That's
Ted
it.
was doing all the time. He was appreciating, the I remember when he walks in and the suit guy is collecting all the towels and stuff, and he asks him, "What's your name?"
Yes.
Because no one's ever asked this for his name. I want to know who you are. I want to know who you really are, not the guy who collects the towels or the tracksuits. I want to know who you are. So there you go, folks. Ted was
Mm-hmm.
showing us and pointing to us who you really are. Who are you? Because that makes a difference in how you come out into this world. That's how you believe in yourself. We believe in you. We believe in our show because what it's doing, it's creating us a great relationship as well. So we look forward to hearing from you. And again, Steve, thanks for putting up a great script of us to bounce ideas from. And I really appreciate your love and your time and your energy as always in these great videos. So thank you,
Thank you,
Steve,
Richard.
and thank you everyone else for listening. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye now. We'll see you on
Bye
the
bye.
next one, episode 6.
Yeah.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye for now.